So, good morning once again, and for this video, we are going to discuss finally the making of our journal entries because we have already discussed the four reminders that are very important in order to produce 100% error-free journal entries. So we are able to discuss the business equation, the default setting, the account title format, the transactional analysis. So for those who are not able to view this one, I suggest that you go back and find this discussion in the previous video so that you can understand how we came up with our journal entries. So for our transaction number one, we have Mr. Sanoria invested the following in his vulcanizing shop business. So you have there the different assets that are being invested by the owner. So transfer from the personal assets to the business assets. So in this case here, if you try to look at the left side of the equation, there is an increase of assets. So if there is an increase of assets, and then the default setting of the asset is debit, so we are going to debit also the assets. So you have there the journal entries, debit cash, and the merchandise inventory with the corresponding inventory, with the corresponding amount. And of course, there's a decrease or increase also of the owner's equity in the form of capital. For our
So I
transaction number two, we have bought computer equipment paying cash. So in this example, there is no movement on the left side. The movement is only on the left side because asset cash is being transferred only to a computer equipment, converted into a computer equipment. So for our journal entry, we have debit, computer equipment, and credit cash. Why credit cash? Why is it that we are not considering any more default setting of the cash which is debit? Kasi we are, the cash there is already decreased. So it is transferred to the uh, other side of the equation. Okay, for number three transaction, the business acquires tables and chairs on account. So there is a increase in the asset because assets are being increased. You're going to debit it, of course, because it corresponds to the default setting. And also at the same time, at the right side, the accounts payable or liabilities are increased because it corresponds also to the default setting of the liabilities which are or which is credit. So our entry will be debit furnitures and fixtures, credit accounts payable, 30,000. For our fourth transaction, this is related to transaction number three. We paid one half of the account. So there is a decrease in the asset because we use cash for the payment, and then there is also a decrease in the liabilities because of the settlement. So there is a decrease in cash and decrease also in the liabilities. So our journal entry is our debit there is accounts payable because it is decreased. Its default setting is supposed to be right side, but this time it is decreased. So we're going to put it on the debit entry or in the left side. Just the same with our cash. The default setting is left or debit, but this time it is decreased. So we are going to transfer it to the left or to the right with a credit entry. For our fifth transaction, we received cash 20,000 for vulcanizing income. So there is an increase in cash, obviously. So our debit will be cash. At the same time, it is the corresponding credit will be vulcanizing service income, which tends to increase owner's equity. So they are at their default setting. So there is an increase, so we have to debit cash and we have to credit vulcanizing service income. To be faster, so it's time to be faster now. Referring to transaction number 5, for example, the customer is given the opportunity to be served without any cash at this very moment. So instead of cash, the debit entry will be accounts receivable. And then the credit entry is just the same with number 5, vulcanizing service income. I will repeat. So for example, the customer in number 5 does not have any money yet or cash at this very time, but he is given the opportunity to be served, but he will be paying at a later date. Instead of cash, the debit entry will be accounts receivable. So that is for number 6. For number 7, for example, the owner, Mr. Sanoria, put another 100,000 into the business. This is an example of an additional capital. Additional capital. So the debit entry will be the first, or the format of the debit entry and the credit entry will just be the same with transaction number 1. So this is an example of an additional investment. So another transaction, for example, the owner would like to withdraw money for personal use. The debit entry will be Mr. A, comma, drawing, and then credit cash. So I will repeat. If because cash there is being decreased through the withdrawal, and then withdrawal actually in the previous lessons that we have, withdrawal is has a default setting of debit because it tends to decrease owner's equity. So another transaction, for example, the owner would like to withdraw money for personal use. The debit entry will be Mr. A, comma, drawing, and then credit cash. So I will repeat. If because cash there is being decreased through the withdrawal, and then withdrawal actually in the previous lessons that we have, withdrawal is has a default setting of debit because it tends to decrease owner's equity. So if you have any question about uh, any transaction that you wanted to be clarified, or any transaction that you are new or you have encountered and you wanted to have the answer, please try to put the comment on the comment section, and then we are going to discuss that one. If you haven't if you want a further clarification of the different transaction that we just had we just discussed, please try to comment also and post your questions so that everything will be clear to you. So thank you so much, and I hope that you are going to subscribe to this channel so that we can make more videos, and watch out for the other videos that we're going to tackle. Aside from accounting, we're going to tackle also feasibility study of the financial management and all other topics that might be very helpful to the student and to everyone. So thank you so much, and see you on the next video.